All right, Hope Day. Welcome to Frontline. 6 o'clock here on the East Coast. And China has officially been inside some of America's most sensitive systems. The DOJ says that Chinese hackers targeted the Justice Department, NASA, the Federal Reserve, they can have that one, and the U.S. Senate using a platform tied to Beijing's intelligence operations. Look, we warned you it was only a matter of time. Hats off, seriously, to the FBI and DOJ for shutting this one down. Plus, an expensive morning for big tech, and I could really care less. Meta settling for up to $16.68 billion over allegations Facebook and Instagram were designed to addict kids, mislead parents about safety, and improperly collect children's data. Turns out harmless scrolling wasn't so harmless. And a lesson in FAFO, one of my favorites, a federal appeals court has rejected Democrat Reps LaMonica McIver's attempt to avoid trial on charges stemming from her little stunt outside an ICE detention center in New Jersey, where she allegedly, at this point, assaulted and interfered with federal agents. Hey, no one's above the law, right? That's what the Democrats said for so long. But first, why do Democrats think that you can just declare an emergency to get around the Constitution? Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro just violated their most recent constitutional amendment. Let's do this. Right. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro basically just said, the hell with the people, the hell with the laws, the hell with the state constitution. I'm just going to do whatever I want. Wait till you hear this. The governor is rewriting his health department's policies to basically turn them into like this unrestrained force that would supersede people's rights, laws, and even the state constitution. This proposed change would allow health officials at the governor's sole direction to enter homes without a warrant, under the guise of health enforcement, could access and seize personal medical records without a warrant. Also, just doing whatever they want. And it could impose statewide school mask mandates. Remember how that went? Here, this is actually language from the proposed regulation. Quote, the department or local health authority may enter an apartment, a building, a healthcare facility, a school, college, or university, or other location as necessary to conduct its investigation under this chapter if the representative presents documentation, which would be provided by the government, to establish that they are an authorized representative of the department or the local health authority. Get bent. They could even mandate vaccines in this new proposed order, as long as they could justify that it was obviously in the name of public safety. And this is in complete defiance of the constitutional amendment that Pennsylvania passed in May of 2021. Pennsylvanians were so fed up with the strict restrictions from COVID that they amended their own constitution to limit these exact unilateral emergency powers of the governor's office. People said, no way, we're not going to have this COVID BS again. You want to do that? You got to pass laws to do it. Nope. But they passed this constitutional amendment after 2 cases were heard at the state Supreme Court. And people said, we're not going to be crushed by the COVID again or any type of health restrictions. We're not gonna. So he can't do this, the governor. This is a 502-page proposed regulation that allows them to break every law and every constitutional right, all in the name of disease prevention. This is the reason our founding fathers gave us the Second Amendment. It's also the reason in the Constitution in Pennsylvania says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be questioned, because they saw stuff like this coming and they knew it. Oh, Carl, you just said you're going to shoot health officials. Well, if they violate anybody violates my rights, endanger my family, and threaten me by breaking into my home, you bet I would. Because I'm done with this stuff. They are no different from any other criminal intruder because they can't do it. They can make all the laws they want, but my Constitution and my Fourth Amendment rights say, no, screw you. You think that's crazy? Under this new rule, now, this is not a law, it's a rule. They could go into your kid's school, question them about anything they want, including what are their parents' medical preferences at home. They could, think about this, just put yourself in a real world scenario here for a minute. You're sitting there eating dinner, a bunch of state health officials just bum rush your kid's school. They start asking your 8, 9, 10-year-old, hey, do your parents, are they vaccinated for this? Do you wear masks at home? Do you practice social, whatever the current thing is, okay? This was just unilaterally declared, by the way, by the same guy who signed bombs with Zelensky, okay? And given the track record of the last time they tried this kind of stuff, whatever they declare is probably garbage anyway. So let's say through your child, they find out that the parents aren't getting vaccinated for the newest thing. And maybe you don't wear masks at home because it's stupid and they don't work. So under this new, not a law, they can send health officials into your home without a warrant. You're just sitting there eating dinner. Imagine that, 15 people escorted by state police come into your home to separate you and your family because of health restrictions. It's kind of ironic from the party that rails against family separation, though.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
The Trump administration's desire to replace family separation, this immoral, forcible separation of parents and children, with indefinite detention.
The United States government would be launching an intentional separation of parents, grandparents from their families.
Which is exactly what this proposal would do. You don't think they'll do that? What was the one thing that you have learned about government via COVID, regardless of party, by the way? Well, the one thing that if there is a law preventing them from doing whatever they want to do, they'll just declare an emergency to get around that law, and then they'll guilt trip everybody into going along with it on the guise of safety. They will do this stuff, guys. They have done it before. And if you forgot, better get some ginkgo biloba or whatever helps you think. And then they will rewrite history, by the way, if it looks so bad in the aftermath. Just not because they were wrong, just so they can do it all over again. If you need proof, here it is.
We already experienced what happened during COVID when we took away that right from parents. They were forced to give their kids COVID vaccines.
They were not forced to give their kids
Well, they were pushed hard and oftentimes hindered from doing what they wanted to do, like going out socially, if their kids were not included in these programs. What we should, as a nation, no, of course, it's not up to the state. It's not up to the federal government. It's up to the states.
Oh, we didn't force. Yes, you did force people. You guys locked people out of like getting lunch. You couldn't get a burrito without a mask and a vaccine card. And they had people fired from their jobs. You wouldn't have let some kids even like go to homeschool. You wouldn't let them into colleges or do their activities unless they got vaccinated, and then publicly shamed everybody who didn't, like me, because I refused to play this game. You know, the vast majority of America, that's pretty much a mandate, Margaret. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm actually not sorry. I just don't trust the government at all on basically anything. The problem with these things is there's no unilateral definition or the requirements of what it is to declare an emergency. Like, what is a health emergency? They're like, well, we think it's really dangerous. Well, it could be, the flu. They can just do whatever they want. And I'm going to give you a perfect example, okay? Like, on cue, in like the same day this thing gets released, Josh Shapiro also holds a press conference about what they're calling a measles-associated deaths.
The Pennsylvania Department of Health announced the first 2 measles-associated deaths in Pennsylvania in 35 years.
And then they said, like, oh, well, they weren't vaccinated for this stuff. They're trying to make a panic now about two people. Measles-associated deaths. Listen very carefully to what they said. No specifics on age, nothing on background or comorbidities, and they won't even say if these people died of measles, just that they had measles at the time they died. And doesn't sound like they died of measles because there's a law that the coroner has to report any communicable disease deaths. And as of today, they're not reporting measles was the cause of death for these 2 people. Oh, oops. Didn't think we'd catch you, but we did. But sure, let's just hold a press conference and get people to panic. My, doesn't that sound oddly familiar to 6 years ago? Mark my words, they're going to do something stupid again to take away your rights. What? This is the catalyst. Just trust me on this one, okay? I'm not steering you wrong. It is your duty as a citizen to give these people the finger and do your own research. Never let them shut down your business again. Never let them force you to get a vaccine that you don't want or don't think is right for you. You never wear a mask. That stuff didn't work. All this kabuki theater that they tried last time, you give them an inch, Josh Shapiro will take 10 miles. Pennsylvania state senator who's fighting against this Shapiro proposal, Dawn Keefer. Dawn, when I saw this, I was like, is he serious?
He's absolutely serious. 502 pages worth of seriousness.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, this guy pens himself as a moderate, okay, as the moderate Democrat in America. He's not. He's talking about draconian monarchy.
Right. And he has a record, right? So he was our attorney general during the COVID lockdowns when they were shutting down businesses and locking kids out of school, and they were keeping you away from your loved ones. He actually went to court and sued these businesses who were trying to stay open. He was on the side of Governor Wolf and, Rachel Levine, right? He was right by their side. So we already know where he stands on these issues. And this is a 502 pages worth of Fauci mandates. That's all this is. So you want to talk about Kings? This is King Shapiro with all his new rules, right? These are mandates. So if this proposed regulation goes through, this would be an enormous shift of power to a governor and his bureaucracy.
I'm sure the FOAC people in your state are like, yeah, come and get some right now. But, the crazy thing is, they're talking about all these measles deaths, and in this 502-page proposal, it talks about mandatory reporting, and you must share data. We can steal data, but then RFK comes out. RFK comes out and says, wait a minute, hold on. We have this soundbite of him. Hold up. Why in the world are you not sharing any of this stuff with the federal government? Play this.
We're doing a better job than any country in the world at controlling the measles outbreak. We've done it every place there's been a measles outbreak. I've sent the CDC in to cooperate with the state health agencies, and we've brought it to an end overnight. The only state that won't cooperate with us is Pennsylvania.
He's, after mandating reaching into your bank account and your health records, he won't give it to the federal government to help.
That's his MO. That's with everything that this administration does. Shapiro won't cooperate with any of their initiatives. That's why we don't get all of our fair share of dollars, because we won't cooperate. But RFK reached out and said, hey, how can I help you? Shapiro says, we don't need your help. Oh, wait, I do. Could you just help us promote the vaccine?
Give us money.
Yeah, right. Can you just help us do that? That's all we need you to do. And so he came out in a dog and pony show. So this proposed amendment was back in June. It was late June, I think, that they released it. We finally got the language just about 3 weeks ago. And then he comes out, ironically, with this like two people and alluding to they died of measles, where I talked to the county officials. They do not have any records that match it. They have one record that could possibly match it, and that was a premature birth. And the child died of other complications. They discovered measles after the fact. That's the only one they could find that was even close to it. Well, you don't vaccinate infants. You don't vaccinate children until they're 1 year of age. So my question is, why would he go out and do this entire, propaganda campaign? And it just discredits him. He's trying to garner trust from the public, and then he lies to them.
Oh, 100%. And also, what people forget is measles, the death rate from measles was at a statistical 0 3 years prior to the vaccine being introduced to the public. It's not like the end-all be-all. That didn't cure it. Modern medicine kept people from dying when they would get it. Anyway, whatever. These are the topics, though, that you flagged in that proposal. Mandatory immunization system participation, expanded reportable conditions, school mitigation authority after Corman mask mandates, expanded entry and we just talked about, kicking in your front door and health screening you, school-specific contact tracing and private student access, broader school exclusion criteria, removal of religious treatment accommodation, and mandatory third trimester syphilis testing. I mean, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Right. And it's a mass data collection. It's mandated that all the different providers, including like a chiropractor, right? They would be mandated reporters to participate in this vaccine data collection that they want to allow all their officials to have access to. So it's a huge HIPAA violation. It's a huge personal rights violation. And then they can go into schools under this. If this goes through, they can go into schools. They can pull your child out during class. They can interrogate your child without parental consent, right? And anybody that interferes with that can be criminally charged.
Bring it.
So you have school officials who can't even interfere according to these rules.
Dawn,
it's outrageous.
This is I hope the hundreds of thousands of gun owners in Pennsylvania draw a line in the sand, said, try it. That's the only thing that's going to stop tyrants like this. Dawn, keep fighting. We appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
All right. A major study released prior to our show today from the Trump administration in the same vein. It was the Department of Health and Human Services, finding that individuals who associate with left-wing authoritarian beliefs and radical gender ideology are more likely to justify political violence. I mean, really, who saw that coming, right? Assistant HHS Secretary Admiral Brian Christine says that, quote, this study raises important questions about what happens when ideology is given the authority of medicine. The association between sex-rejecting clinical beliefs, authoritarian attitudes, and the justification of political violence warrant serious scientific scrutiny. The memo went on. HSS will continue to pursue rigorous research that examines these relationships and gives the American people the evidence they deserve, end quote. We're going to be diving into this story and have much more on it tomorrow as we get to go through all this stuff. But until then, I guess trust the science, right? All right, coming up, how is the Democrat Party running on the fact that they hate the country they represent? What happened to the unified America that loved their country no matter what side you're on? My thoughts on that later in the show. But first, as the trade war escalates between the U.S. and Canada, and President Trump is floating this new idea of bringing back the Keystone XL pipeline, but that is off the table with Canada's retaliatory tariffs. We're going to discuss that next.
I need a medic.
No warning, no time. When suspects turn violent, officers have seconds to survive. Watch the Caught on Body Cam series for the drama, the actual footage.
Suspect down! Suspect down!
The real life, all on Newsmax Plus. Start your free trial today at newsmaxplus.com.
It's me, Ricky. You grew up with me. I am using Fatty 15 to get me to feel and look the best I've ever felt at my age. The C15 nutrient has been known to strengthen our cells and slow the aging process at a cellular level. I urge you to try Fatty 15.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
An Erie metal roof is built to outlast just about anything life can throw at it. Like a lifetime of hailstones playing hardball. Or scorching summer temps. Plus, to outlast your mortgage with a 50-year transferable warranty. Get a free consultation with Erie Home. Call or click today.
All right, folks, breaking news. A military judge today ruling that the mastermind of 9/11, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, KSM, will stand trial in 2028. Now, today's ruling comes nearly 25 years after the attacks. We also, ironically, at the same time, have a Muslim mayor over the holy ground right down there at 9/11. Mohammed has been held at Gitmo since 2003. Prosecutors wanted a trial to begin next year, but the judge said that was too soon. All right, so as the trade deal between the U.S. and Canada continues to fall apart, I think it's time that we revisit the Keystone XL pipeline. For a little refresher on this, since we almost had this thing up and running, or at least the green light to go ahead with it last week, keep in mind much of the Canadian infrastructure side of this is already built. But stubborn Canadians who are negotiating this tanked the whole connection thing. Now, the 1,100-mile American extension of the Keystone Pipeline is designed to carry almost 1 million barrels of crude oil per day from Alberta, Canada, which is the place that produces it that might be the 51st state, to our U.S. refineries. That's going to stay shut down. The planned route connected Hard City, Alberta, to Steel City, Nebraska, passing through Montana. It was rejected under President Obama, then it was revived by President Trump in his first term and ultimately canceled again in June of 2021 after President Biden, or whoever was running the auto pen, revoked it across the cross-border permit. But President Trump has since floated the idea of bringing that all back, regardless of the hippie protesters. All we got to do is hook it up. Newsmax contributor and political legal analyst Mehek Cooke and co-host of First Edition, Jon Glasgow. Jon, You are Canadian yourself, and you were giving me a little education on this earlier.
Yeah, resident Canadian here at Newsmax, actually from Alberta, which is where all this oil is coming from.
The Texas of Canada.
The Texas of Canada, all the conservatives out there. We're not talking 51st state right now. We're talking about all that heavy crude that's coming out of Alberta down through Texas. Now, this would have been huge had it have gone through the Keystone XL pipeline originally. I mean, this would have brought $30 billion into the Canadian market. That's a heavy chunk of change. And now it's gone.
Yeah.
So Trump...
Keep in mind, Canada is 1/3 the 1/10 the GDP of America. Like, they could use that.
Yeah, they could certainly use that money. And now here's the thing. You got President Trump who throws out there, maybe we can revive this Keystone XL pipeline last week. We're all getting excited because all these Albertans are thinking, all right, more money. This is great for the GDP. Now it's all up in the air. And I wonder why, because all the heavy crude that's being refined in Houston right now, it's all down as well, about 3 to 5%. This would have been good for both sides. Now, what I'm hearing from the Canadian sources, because this deal between Trump and Carney that fell apart, part of it was that the U.S. wanted to tell Canada who else they could trade with. It had to be approved through President Trump, which I think that's why they're saying, okay, but Canada's sovereignty is at stake.
Canada needs us more than we need them.
Correct. And I think this is where President Trump has kept his promise. He talked about American energy dominance. He's created that by ensuring that our pipelines, our rules and regulations, and all the barriers that Joe Biden, all the barriers that Joe Biden created are just eviscerated. At this point, Canada not only needs us, 90% of Canada's crude oil actually goes through. We're the ones that are processing it. So guess what? President Trump knows we're the largest customer. He knows we have the cash, the capital, the infrastructure, and Canada really needs to get their act together. They're the ones that started the tariffs, Carl. They started tariffs on alcohol, manufacturing, dairy. So game on. President Trump isn't going to let our neighbors just completely steamroll us.
Certainly
this is ridiculous.
Speaking of that, I looked that up. 80% alcohol sales are down in Canada right now.
Oh, snap.
80%. That means Canadians are just not buying the alcohol. You can ship it in there, but no one's going to buy it.
They can't survive that.
It's crazy.
I gotta get. I know you have an entire page of teach me stuff about Canada. I know. Mehek, Congresswoman Anna Paulina-Luna, I saw this and I was like, yes, why is this not a law? She's introducing a bill that would require influencers to disclose when they're being paid by foreign governments to push political messaging. Listen to this.
When you see the amount of bot farm activity and then you see, for example, X come in, they'll do a massive purge and then literally the dynamics of the conversation changes. You realize that although we are unique in the sense that we have the, First Amendment and free speech here, it's naive to think that other countries aren't going to use that against us, and they do.
Look, if you work with other countries, if you lobby with other countries, you have to register. If you're spreading a message on behalf of other countries, makes sense.
100%. No longer is this just trench coats and people doing these secret deals with China and Russia and even Israel. Now you have influencers with millions of followers, Carl. They're no different. If they are helping a foreign government, operating even as a foreign agent, why not have them register? I love the freedom of speech. I love X since Elon Musk took it over. But I think as you have a public square and a discussion, I want to know if you're being paid or not for your thoughts. I mean, that is what the American people want. We just want transparency in a country that lacks it today.
You're lobbying the American people.
100% through messaging.
Real quick, Massachusetts, a guy was just arrested for stealing COVID funds, a Democrat. Pay more in taxes so we can steal it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the traditional Democrat playbook. I mean, this is what Elon Musk and Doge were trying to find out. Where's the money going? And it does not surprise me that another Democrat has tried to find their way and reroute around and get these COVID funds. I mean, that is the traditional playbook. And that's what Doge was trying to figure out. They were trying to look into all this stuff. And what happened? They ended up pushed back.
Prosecution's a layup.
Well, it is a layup, but remember, COVID, we're still trying to uncover who stole PPE loans and so much more. This guy not only took loans, Carl, he then charged his mortgage customers more. So as small businesses are being crushed through COVID and just completely shutting down, this man is stealing from the American people. Again, thank God for President Trump and the fact that we have a fraud task force that's going to get every single dollar that's owed to the American people back.
Not letting this go.
Yeah, exactly. Do not let it go. Jon, Mehek, we appreciate both of you coming in. All right, coming up, attacking the commander-in-chief while in uniform, weird, has some consequences. One Air Force officer learning that lesson the hard way. I'm going to discuss that in a sec.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched.
I switched to Newsmax.
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 Have you made the switch?
You bet I did. My whole family switched.
Millions are switching to Newsmax. You should too.
I'm stressed.
Great white. Swallow you whole.
No. I mean, I'm 45. I need to get screened for colon cancer. All that prep, holding out the water.
Try Cologuard Plus.
There you go.
It detects 95% of colon cancers, similar to colonoscopy.
And it ships to your home or your ship.
False positive and negative results maker. The Cologuard Plus test is not for those at high risk.
Hey, is there a poop deck joke here?
There is now.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
Whoever trusted me in the car with this has made a terrible mistake. Yep, us kids can really make a mess of summer. I can get sand in places you didn't even know your car had. So, my parents got smart and decked out the car with WeatherTech. Now it's basically me-proof in here. Yep, summer's here. And I'm probably gonna spill every road snack and red slushie I can get my stubby little fingers on. So, visit WeatherTech.com to kid-proof your car for summer.
My car insurance bill doubled?
You should try Insurify. In just a few clicks, you can compare rates from dozens of insurance companies. And you could...
I just got the same coverage for half the price.
Hey, that's what I was going to say. Go to Insurify.com and save up to $1,000 a year on your car insurance.
When Saturday rolls around, I don't want to jump through hoops to watch college football. Good thing DirecTV makes it easy to keep up with my favorite college teams. No hopping between apps or channels.
Stream college football without the hurdles on DirecTV.
Honey, Mortgage Money 6 says we should keep renting.
Mortgage Money 6?
Reba says more realtor agents recommend Realtor.com. They track every market so you know when to make your move.
He also says that Bigfoot... Got it.
Make it real with Realtor.com.
Today's AI capabilities can make your head spin, but for scammers, it's the ultimate tool. They're using AI to exploit tech gaps and slip past traditional security. PCmatic keeps your information private and devices safe with online security solutions developed in America to protect Americans. Built for homes, businesses, and government agencies. Secure 5 devices for just $50 for your first year. Get online protection at PCmatic.com.
Yikes, talk about a stupid protest that backfired. Back in July, Air Force Major Jason Watson went to the steps of the U.S. Capitol in uniform, holding a sign for President Trump, his boss, to be impeached, convicted, and removed. He was arrested for refusing police orders to stop the demonstration. He was charged as a civilian. That charge was dropped, but the military was like, hold my beer. Then just to make sure there was no confusion about where he stood, Watson went on CNN and actually doubled down on this.
What is happening with President Trump is not normal. He has failed us, and not only is he a failure as president, he is flagrantly violating the Constitution, breaking the law, engaged in rampant corruption, and is killing Americans.
That little protest has turned into something a lot bigger. Watson is now facing charges under Article 88. It's a rarely used military law that prohibits contemptuous remarks against the commander-in-chief while in uniform. If he had been in sweatpants, He would probably be fine right now, but he wasn't. He was in his uniform. In fact, there have only been 2 successful convictions under Article 88 since 1951. So yeah, Fafau. Newsmax contributor Michael Grimm, good to have you back. Also, man, you're a Marine, so you know that like every Air Force guy right now is shaking their head, be like, dude, why are you doing this to us?
First of all, I got to tell you something. I got so many calls.
Yeah.
From people telling me, listen, just because he's in the military doesn't mean he can't speak his mind and say what he wants just because he doesn't like Trump. I was full stop, hard stop. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. You do not have the full freedom of speech when you're in the military. Okay. When you want to wear the uniform of the United States of America, no, you can't come out and say anything you want. It's against the rules. You cannot put your uniform on and go to a political protest and get involved in political, whatever you want to call it, discourse. Not while you're in uniform. You're there when you're in uniform. You're representing the country. You're representing the United States of America, and you're representing, in this case, the Air Force.
In fact, you are property of the U.S. government in that uniform.
Amen, brother. And that's one of the reasons I signed up. I love the country that much. Yes, I would have given my life for this country if that's what it took. But
I'd prefer making them give their lives.
That is the goal.
Yeah, that is the goal. We come home, the bad guys die.
The bad guys don't. But the point is, if you're going to sign up,
right,
you have to have some respect for your chain of command. If you don't respect the commander in chief, what makes me think you would expect any lawful order from any of your commanders below that? Yeah. He's the top of the line. He's your commander in chief. If you don't respect him, I don't believe you respect your uniform. I don't respect our country, and you're certainly not going to take orders like a good Air Force person or a Marine or what. And it doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what branch.
From your fellow service members too.
Absolutely.
Will you have their back? That's the question. All right. Here's another very serious one. 5 years since Abbey Gate. 13 lives of service members. War Secretary Pete Hegseth honored them today, upgrading their improperly downgraded things. He's giving them Valor awards. I'm just like, this is just such a reflection of failure. I'm glad they're making at least the awards right, but did we learn the lesson as a country, at least on the Democrat side?
Not even a little bit. I mean, I think the mainstream Democrat Party has reached a point where they don't love our country anymore. They don't think that we should be great and exceptional. And if you can't understand the abject failure of all those Marines that were killed for absolutely no reason, the complete failure of the way we left and disgraced, really, the memories of those that died in conflict, it's abhorrent. But I don't believe they've learned their lesson. I really do believe that if Trump was out of office and they were to win the White House, and if they could control the Senate, you'll see much worse.
Yeah, well, but that goes, to your point, showing that Democrats do hate America. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But also, you've got Mamdani. All right, this guy goes out and he literally mourns a prisoner at Rikers who murdered someone. Murdered.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Mayor. When was the last time you actually came out and spoke about a cop that lost his life or a cop that was injured in the line of duty? How about the poor citizens that are being subjected to all of the crime every single day that I see right here in New York every single day? Have you once thought about them? How about those that were murdered? How about the guy, by the way, he murdered someone with a cleaver, Carl?
Yep, right.
It wasn't like they got into a bar fight and he hit him too hard. He didn't mean it.
Yeah.
The guy butchered someone with a cleaver.
Stabbed somebody else, too.
And stabbed someone else, but he killed a store owner with a cleaver. And he's sending out condolences to his family as if this was, someone that we should revere. But not once has he ever come out for a victim.
No.
That was, injured on the subway or injured by a push-in robbery that we have in New York City every single day. Not once did he ever look at those parents or the survivors of those crimes and say, my condolences are with you. I'm so sorry you went through this. But a guy that was in Rikers for killing someone with a cleaver, that gets his attention. But it just goes to show you who he is at his core.
Yeah.
That's who he is. He can smile and he can, have a nice, pleasant way about him, and he's charismatic.
No.
El Sayed's the same thing, and they smile at you. But they hate our country, they hate our way of life, and they do not have respect for our laws or for the citizens that live here.
100%. Michael Grimm, great to have you back in studio,
Great to be here, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, come back soon. Coming up, the liberals have done it again, finding a new way to blame every issue on, straight white men. This time, it's their fault that the WNBA can't define what a woman is. We got that in Culture Clash next.
across the nation, people can't stop talking about Carl Higbie and Frontline for the big news they need to know. Watch Carl Higbie Frontline tomorrow at 6 p.m. only on Newsmax.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, owner of the company that sells an incredible nutritional supplement called Amino 150. I'm celebrating my 92nd birthday in excellent health and condition because I've been consuming 70 minerals and 80 other nutrients found in Amino 150. I don't have arthritis, diabetes, heart problems, dementia, or anything else. You won't believe what 7 times more minerals can do for you. Amino 150 may be the best food supplement in the world. Order now. You'll be glad you did.
We wanted transparency, but we couldn't find it. So we started Good Ranchers to reconnect the American family to the American farm. All of our meat is 100% born, raised, and harvested right here on American soil. But good sourcing is just the beginning. We go the extra mile to take stuff off your plate. Pre-trimmed cuts, easy thaw bags, fully cooked options.
Ooh, yeah, this is good.
And it's good for you. No antibiotics, no added hormones, no seed oils, no gluten, no funny business.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Berna and my Glock. I always go for the Berna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Berna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
Several days ago, my plane crashed in the wild. Good job, buddy. I'll get you home.
The night has come, and all the land is dark.
I got you. Go on, boy.
Part of the Beast. New trailer online now.
This isn't your average pill. This is Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks.
Rose Sparks is a fast-acting solution because it dissolves under your tongue.
Rose Sparks.
Guys, get started today.
Connect with a provider to find out if Rose Sparks are right for you.
Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening. Yeah,
it's been forever.
Dale, we can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
I've been in the fitness industry for more than 25 years, and Fatty 15 is a built-in recovery system for your cells. You can't have a healthy outside if you're not taking care of the inside. Try Fatty 15.
Folks, this is an issue I actually hate talking about, but I want to take a look at the polling here on this. Massachusetts just became, we told you this when it happened, the 12th state to allow abortions at any point throughout pregnancy, even when mother and baby are totally healthy. A policy that it's only legal in 7 other countries out of like 212 sovereign nations in the world. According to Gallup's most recent polling, only 22% of Americans support this late-term, third trimester abortion crap. That's 78% of Americans think, no, we should not be aborting babies that can be born and live. Republicans need to run on that. Democrats have owned this issue for far too long. The Republican talking point needs to be on this. Just turn around when it's brought up, like for women's choice or whatever they say, to ask every Democrat, be like, hey, are you for killing a baby that is viable outside the womb? Yes or no? That's all. And it doesn't matter if it takes the rest of the debate. Don't get in the weeds. Don't talk about women's rights or reproductive care, whatever they spin it as. Call it what it is. You want to kill a baby that's capable of surviving on its own. This was pointed out in a memo exclusively obtained by the Daily Wire, by the way. SBA Pro-Life America urges Republican candidates to their Democrat opponents' extremism focused on their support for late-term abortions. SBA memo urges Republicans to prevent Democrats from avoiding specifics when discussing abortion, something Democrat strategists are encouraging candidates to Dodge, forcing them to own the votes on the policies that most voters find distasteful. That will single-handedly take this from a women's issue that is a consistent win for Democrats and make it a win for Republicans. It just is. Host of Scrolling with Hayley Caronia, and senior research analyst for Media Research Center, Bill D'Agostino. Hayley, this could be an easy win for Republicans because, we don't want to kill babies.
No, of course we don't. And I actually tend to disagree. So I'm saying this as a pro-life, conservative Catholic woman. I agree with you. We know that the Democrats are demonic. Their stance on abortion in general is demonic. Certainly third term and beyond is horrific. And we hate to think this, but I think this isn't going to get Republicans to the polls. As much as people, despite what the polls are saying, that people agree with this, I don't think that people are going to go to the polls because of this. I think the midterm elections, this is affordability. This is deportations. This is some kitchen table issues. The only one issue abortion voters are on the left, and they already know that they're demonic. You can call it to their face and they don't care.
Yeah, Bill, but I think Republicans paint this right. I think it peels 5% of the Democrat Party away and they vote Republican on this issue alone, especially women.
Well, I can't speak to the exact numbers on it because I don't have enough of a gauge of the sentiment. But what I do know is that in general, since Roe v. Wade was the law of the land for so long, the pro-life movement was kind of exposed to a pretty rough wake-up call when it was repealed because they assumed that sentiment was around where it was back in the 70s when Roe v. Wade was first decided. And in fact, much of the electorate had moved significantly left on abortion. So if you're somebody who is in politics because of this topic specifically, this is something where you still have mass public support, right? So I mean, make hay while the sun is shining.
Yeah, no, it's a messed up issue, man. The fact that we debate this third term day up to birth abortion is insane to me.
This is where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we're at. This and drag queens twerking in 6-year-olds' faces. All right, this is why I love to browse through the FEC records, because I'm a huge nerd. All right, the Democrat congressional candidate, Katie Padilla Stout, yes, her last name is Stout, that's her, being blasted for spending over $4,300 of campaign donations in a very short period of time on food, but not just any food. She spent $2,027 on tacos in a single day, $1,300 on beer and wine, $675 on cookies. Running for Congress is not an alternative for SNAP, Hayley.
Yeah, the $700 almost on cookies was the thing that really got me going. I like a party. So if you want to use your campaign funds for alcohol and you want to throw a party, whatever. I would like to see the head count, though, on how many people shared those cookies with her, because by the looks of her, I think that it was just her. I think it was just her. And I was curious. I looked at her healthcare policy platform on her website, and it's a lot of universal health care for all and expanding Medicaid and Affordable Health Care Act and things like that. So basically she wants everyone else to pay for fat people and their problems. Yeah,
Bill, real quick, I don't have time for the soundbite, but basically the WNBA, Kara Swisher is saying that it's straight white men that are the problem with the WNBA. And I'm like, doesn't the NBA run by a straight white guy subsidize the WNBA? Can you rephrase that?
I mean, yeah, the second you begin a sentence with Kara Swisher is saying, I know what my stance is on the rest of the sentence. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you'd expect from her, right? I mean, the reality is if you're trying to scapegoat any group, if you're trying to lay into any individual demographic, basically the only safe targets for somebody like Kara Swisher are men, white people, and probably Christians as well. And I mean, especially if you're multiple of those at the same time, right? So they hate us.
Yeah, she may want to lay off. She looks like a white man. I don't
you put that, they're all morphing into the same person. Yeah, her, Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, everybody.
Bill, Hayley, we got to leave it right there. Appreciate both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, a U.S. senator just claimed America is no longer the leader of the free world. No, he's wrong. I'm going to break down why he's an idiot next.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed, and you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
My friends, I come to you today on behalf of the Jewish people in Ukraine whose lives have been completely destroyed. Family and loved ones brutally killed. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is inside of Ukraine, providing emergency food and supplies to tens of thousands of people. But the food crisis is growing for Jewish families and especially for the elderly.
I am shocked how many elderly people came here. They're afraid, and they realize now that there are more people than boxes.
For just $25, you can help rush an emergency food box to the elderly Jews in Ukraine. Many of them are hungry, frightened, and alone. Your gift helps provide critical food when it's needed most. Call or go online now.
The people of Ukraine are caught in the crosshairs of war. Many of these precious people are Holocaust survivors, elderly Jews who are sick and dying. They have no food, and we must reach them now before it's too late.
The world is in a war again. I am alone. I'm afraid of the bombs. I'm scared. I am old. There is no food.
Just $25 helps rush emergency food to elderly Jews in Ukraine who are in urgent need today. Please call, scan, or go online right now.
I will not starve. Thank you, good people.
We can be the hope to the Jewish people who are suffering in Ukraine. Your help is desperately needed now.
Look, I don't understand how an entire party is running on the fact that they hate the country they represent. Senator Chris Coons, okay, who's most people have largely never heard of this guy. He went to some garage podcast and said, oh, America's no longer the leader of the free world, and then proceeded to tell us that Zelensky might be.
I would say we are no longer the leaders of the free world. In fact, if anything, Volodymyr Zelensky is the primary national leader who is putting his country's men and women on the line for freedom, and we need to earn our place back as leader of the free world in the future.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you on that one. Just real quick, who's the global currency? Who has a bigger military than the next 24 countries combined? Who is the world innovator in, medical advances, technological infrastructure, the place that everyone that is fleeing from Democrats' policies of communism and socialism is coming to? Oh yeah, that's right. It's us, America. The fact that this guy would even consider Ukrainian President Zelensky as the model of freedom in the world, that's not insulting. It's like completely stupid. Using freedom in the same sentence as the guy, Zelensky, who canceled elections in his country. Not so free. Also Zelensky, who is begging for help from, oh, that's right, from America, because we're the leader of the free world. This is the best you guys got, Democrats? Coons? Who's supposed to be representing our country? This is insane. But this goes all the way down the line. Not only do they not look at America as like the shining city on the hill, they actively want to tear us down. Literally.
And I'm going to have a paperweight sitting on my desk. You know what that paperweight's going to be? It's going to be a piece of the ballroom after we all blow it up. That's what it's going to be.
About 8 seconds after that, he was like, oh, snap. I mean, his comms person was like waving his arm, saying that, oh, he had to clarify, saying, oh, we're going to legally demolish it through official channels. Yeah, that was a big oops, bro. It's a Soros appointed guy right there. But this is where we're at. It's not about the ballroom. It's about the fact that Trump built it. They have become so deranged that even if we cured cancer, solved world hunger, whatever, they'd still have a problem with that guy. The problem is that this attitude is permeating down through our educational system, where kids are literally taught to hate America. And the kids are not emotionally mature enough to understand the nuance of politics. So they just end up like Hassan Piker, dressed up like Mao, who, by the way, killed millions of people, blabbing on for 12 hours on a podcast about killing capitalists and watching their blood run through the streets and electrocuting his dog. That's the model that the left has built. You know what I miss? I miss the unified America. And as tragic as it was, after 9/11, America was awesome, man. I mean, we were at our best. Everybody from all walks of life respected each other. We were waving the American flags, never forget. Like, we were like America, rah, rah. Now, if you have an American flag, it's like a sign of political oppression or white supremacy, whatever the left thinks. Like, America is awesome. I always go back to the hard times create hard men. Hard men create good times create soft men, like Hassan Piker and Chris Coons and basically the entire Democrat Party with testosterone below the average Somali IQ at about 67, which creates hard times, folks. This is what I don't hear from the Democrat Party, though, in all this. What they're going to do. They always talk about what they're going to undo and tear down and destroy and mess up and blah, 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 blah. What are you going to do? They do all this stuff and they scream at the moon. The only problem here, the only thing worth tearing down, and this is what Democrats don't understand, the only thing worth tearing down is the same government that they want to make in charge of everything. Also, the moon doesn't care if you scream at it. The entire party is trafficking in grievances. They have no real plan. Look, I always say, Republicans are not the solution to all your problems, but Democrats are the cause of most of them. Okay? They have this mainstream part of the Democrat Party socialists that want to impose a government system that has never worked in the history of ever and has amounted to over 100 million people being killed throughout history. Why is this even a consideration of who we're electing at this point? One party, pro-America, pro-business, pro-gun, pro-freedom, versus somebody who wants to lock you down with a mask over your face and maybe force you to take a vaccine, like I just talked about Shapiro, take more of your money via taxes, open the borders, and then give that money to those people while they rape and murder our citizens. That should be the only talking point going into this entire midterm election, that comparison. That is the only comparison that we should be making going into this next election, because those are the choices. You think it's going to be great? The grass ain't greener on the other side with the Democrats' policies. They want to burn this guy to the ground and everything he built, even if it was good. They fought him on cleaning up the streets in Washington, D.C. You think about that. They were against him fighting crime to keep you safe. That is one of the most asinine things you can possibly imagine from a politician. And the fact that we're in a 50-50 proposition in this country is remarkable to me. I don't know. Hopefully we can fix it, but we'll see if people wake up. Our educational system has sort of screwed up the youth. Before we go, speaking of failing in the real world, some bozos are telling burnouts to embrace the failure. Wait until you hear about this crazy. Next.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
My gutters were clogged, and I know that can be a big problem, so I called Leaf Filter.
Leaf Filter Pros will clean out, reinforce, and protect your gutters. Our surgical-grade stainless steel micro mesh keeps the debris out and water moving. Call or click today.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, owner of the company that sells an incredible nutritional supplement called Immuno 150. I'm celebrating my 92nd birthday in excellent health and condition because I've been consuming 70 minerals and 80 other nutrients found in Immuno 150. I don't have arthritis, diabetes, heart problems, dementia, or anything else. My blood pressure averages 119/72. My PSA is 0.00. I can still run, jump, and climb a ladder, dance for hours, or do anything else I want to do. Now, if you want to live a ripe old age and still have all of your marbles and muscles, you should try Immuno 150. Regardless of your age, chances are you're not in excellent health because you lack many minerals in your diet. Now, don't hesitate any longer. Try Immuno 150 so you can surprise your doctor the next time you get a physical. Immuno 150 may be the best food supplement in the world. Thank you and God bless.
While this banana may not save you from someone breaking into your home, Berna's banana helped one vet repel an intruder in his.
This huge guy, 6'5", 6'6", just barreled through my front door. I have my Byrna and my Glock. I always go for the Byrna first. I've seen enough death and destruction to last 2 lifetimes. Here is the perfect item I can have, feel totally safe, and know I'm not going to kill anybody.
At Byrna, we don't sell bananas, we sell peace of mind.
Hey guys, Viagra is not your only option. Rove Sparks act fast and stay active longer. They aren't pills. Sparks dissolve under your tongue to reach your bloodstream for speedy results. Connect with a provider at rove.co/sparks.
People always ask, why Patriot Gold Group? With over 10,000 clients to date and over $1 billion in transactions, not a single complaint on the Better Business Bureau. Consumer Affairs top rated for 9 years in a row. Over 2,000 5-star reviews. The only company nationwide where you, the client, work directly with an owner. Home of the no fee for life IRA. Gold is up 80% in the last 28 months, 275% since Lehman Brothers collapsed. We are patriots protecting patriots. Give Patriot Gold Group a call at 888-528-4290 before it's too late. Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold and silver dealer 9 years in a row. Call now, 888-528-4290.
There's no way a mouthwash can prevent bad breath for 12 hours.
You're right, Val. Mouthwash can't, but this is dentist-developed Smart Mouth Activated Mouthwash.
Activated?
Yeah, if your mouthwash isn't activated, it's not Smart Mouth. See, this plus this activate for 12 hours of bad breath prevention, guaranteed. Try it. You won't have bad breath in the morning. Good night, Phil.
Get dentist-developed Smart Mouth today. It's the smarter mouthwash, available at these fine retailers.
Every time I start to regain hope in humanity, a story like this pops up and pretty much knocks that optimism right back down. The Wall Street Journal, yes, the Wall Street Journal, not the National Enquirer or some other weird tabloid, says there's a cure for career burnout. Clown school. Writing for actors and others worn down by rejection and pressure to get everything right, clowning offers an unusual prescription. Embrace failure. What kind of advice is that? Embrace failure? I mean, maybe I'm just given my background as a Navy SEAL, like failure is not really a thing. And when you fail, you pick yourself back up and get like, I got an idea. How about just saying, you just suck it up, go to work, do better, work harder, because honestly, the world doesn't care about your complaining. And if you want to clown around, fine with me. I mean, if it makes you happy, go ahead. But like, it's a coping mechanism now, Rob? Like, oh, if you lose your ratings to Greg Kelly, you're going to go put on a clown wig?
I'm going to go put on a clown wig. Yes, that's exactly what that happened last night.
Yeah, Greg beat us all.
Won the prize last night. Yeah, he had a good show. Good to see you, Carl.
I'll order you a clown wig.
I'll take it.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.